Welcome back to Press Review. Let's start by taking a look at today's front pages in the Middle East. Starting in Lebanon, the Daily Star leads today, reporting that the Lebanese forces have announced its leader, Samir Jarjah, as its candidate for the presidency. Jarjah has pledged to prioritise the controversial issue of Hezbollah's military involvement in Syria if elected to the post. The paper also reports that US Secretary of State John Kerry says the US will evaluate its role in the Middle East peace process after negative Israeli and Palestinian moves. The Egypt Independent leads, reporting that the Muslim Brotherhood's Freedom and Justice Party denied links to activist Ahmad al-Moghir, who has been recently calling for armed resistance against the armed forces and the police. The paper also reports the Minister of Commerce and Investment saying that the US Economic Support Fund will implement an initiative to establish a number of investment projects in Egypt worth $120 million, which were approved by Congress recently. Israel's Jerusalem Post leads, reporting that the Israeli Justice Minister Tzipi Livni says Israel will not release the fourth batch of 26 terrorists it was to have freed because of the Palestinian decision to apply for admission to 15 international treaties and conventions. The paper also reports President Shimon Peres saying that Israel and the US share a special relationship based on the principles of freedom and peace, and they should work together against any war in the region. From Saudi Arabia, the Arab News leads its front page reporting that work on the $22.5 billion Riyadh Metro project has begun and is due to be completed in 48 months. The paper also reports that Indonesia will pay 6.7 million Saudi riyals in blood money to save an Indonesian maid from being executed in the kingdom after she was found guilty of killing her female employer 7 years ago. The UAE's Gulf News leads its paper reporting that Lebanon has become home to the largest refugee population in the world per capita after it surpassed the 1 million mark, meaning 1 out of every 4 people in Lebanon is a Syrian refugee. The paper also reports that the UAE security forces have arrested a key member of the gang suspected of kidnapping a British-Iranian businessman who went missing in Dubai last June. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East news from UK papers. The Telegraph leads its Middle East section reporting on migrants at Israel's desert detention camp. The paper says that human rights activists say Israel should be ashamed of its treatment of asylum seekers at Holot, a holding facility for infiltrators deep in the Negev desert. The Guardian leads its Middle East section reporting that as the 17th of April presidential election in Algeria nears, the Algerian president's project to plant 1.5 million trees was to symbolise the regime's longevity and the renovation of North Africa's largest city. The paper says the aim, in short, was an additional argument for the election campaign launched last month, but unfortunately it fell flat. The project has instead led the public to question the government's sense of priorities. The Independent leads its Middle East section reporting that Manchester Metropolitan University is facing criticism over its plans to provide training to the Qatari police force in the country's new police college. The paper says the plans have come under fire from the local branch of the University and College Union, who have labelled them blatant hypocrisy, questioning the university's decision to sign the memorandum at the same time as promoting LGBT equality through LGBT History Month earlier this year. Now let's take a look at the top Middle East news in international papers. The LA Times reports that a rebel assault on the northern Syrian town of Kasab near the Turkish border has sparked a furore among Armenians worldwide and revived the dark memories of the Ottoman-era genocide. Syrian officials, meanwhile, have accused Turkey of backing an al-Qaeda-led offensive from its territory with tanks and aircraft. Germany's Deutsche Welle leads its Middle East section, reporting that faltering peace talks between Israel and Palestine. The paper says Israel has failed to release the last group of Palestinian prisoners, and Palestinian President Abbas signed applications to join 15 UN conventions. It's now unclear how the Middle East peace talks can continue. And finally, China's Global Times reports Iran and 6 world powers began an expert-level meeting about Tehran's nuclear program yesterday, part of efforts to reach an agreement by late July on how to resolve the decade-old dispute that has stirred fears of a Middle East war. The meeting in Vienna was to prepare for a new round of higher-level negotiations next week. And for more updates, please visit Levant.tv. Thanks for watching. Be sure to join us again on Monday. Bye for now.